In order to build your ogive, we also need to take the time to find not just the frequencies, but then the cumulative and the relative cumulative frequencies. If you haven't taken the time to read what is in step 8, you need to take the time to read this. I would pause this and read this, and then I will do a little bit of it with you. The idea of a cumulative frequency. The idea of a cumulative frequency, we are accumulating all of the frequencies up to but below the value in that given row. So for instance, let's look at the cumulative frequency for glucose levels that are at least 100 but still below 125. So that would include this frequency, plus these two. So my cumulative frequency is the 3 that I had previously, plus these 2 additional ones. This 3 plus this 2 makes 5. Now, to get the next row, I have a frequency of 5 in this class. Blood glucose levels of at least 125 but less than 150. But the cumulative frequency, I already have 5 subjects. I am adding 5 additional subjects here. This 5 and this 5 together makes a cumulative frequency of 10. So that's how you complete the cumulative frequency column. It's important to do that first. You need to do that before you proceed. So the next step is really easy. In step 9, all we're going to do is take those frequencies and turn them into percentages. There are a total of 18 observations. So all we're going to do is divide by 18. So I've done the first couple for you. 0 divided by 18 is 0. 3 divided by 18 rounds to 0.17. On your calculator, if you take 5 and divide it by 18, please round. 5 divided by the 18, that's going to give you 0.28. So here I have a cumulative frequency of 10. 10 divided by 18, if I round that, that's going to give me 0.56. Now understand, if the cumulative frequency doesn't change, that also means that the percentage that you get for the relative cumulative frequency, that percentage will not change. That's to be expected. So every time you have the same number in the cumulative frequency column, you should have the same percentage in the relative cumulative frequency column. So if you haven't done so already, you need to finish the relative cumulative frequency column. You should pause and do that before you try to complete the next steps. So I will tell you in step number 10, I'm trying to make sure that you understand the idea of cumulative frequency and the idea of, in this case, relative cumulative frequency. I want to make sure that you can interpret the percentages that you see. So let me use a specific row from the other side. Let's look at, let's take a look at the third row. 1, 2, 3. Here's the third row. So the cumulative frequency of 5, what that tells me is up to, but not including, a glucose value of 125. I have a total of 5 subjects whose glucose values are up to, but not including 125. So they're below 125. Same thing here, this 10, what that represents is that I have 10 subjects in total, cumulative, that have a blood glucose level below 150. So that's all we mean by the cumulative frequency. So you should go back then and look at the 8th row and see if you can complete these values here. You have a cumulative frequency and you need to make sure that you know the comparison that you can make with that. For relative cumulative frequencies, all we're going to do is interpret the percentage rather than interpret the count. So let's go back and do that. So here, this 5 accounts for 28% of the subjects in our sample. So what that relative cumulative frequency means is that 28% of subjects have a blood glucose level below 125. So here, the next row, the fourth row, this 56% for the relative cumulative frequency. That means that as I approach 150, 56% of subjects have a blood glucose level that is less than 150. So your job is to try interpreting the seventh row. So in question number 10, you should go to the seventh row. Make sure you know the percentage and how to interpret it. So last, it's time to finally build the ogive. So these are the instructions. This is what you need to follow in order to build the ogive. So the second column from your table needs to go into list 1. The fifth column needs to go into list 2. So here's the second column. This is the second column. This is going into list 1. Is the fifth column right here, the relative cumulative frequencies. Those are going into list 2. So if you haven't done so already, you should enter those data into list 1 and list 2. I have done that. So here are my list 1 entries from the second column. Here are my list 2 entries, list 1 and list 2. List 2 is the relative cumulative frequencies. So if you haven't entered those already, you need to do that. Then you can pause the video, do that, come back. So now what we need to make sure is that you have your plot set up correctly. So you need to turn on plot 1, and the key is to make sure that you're selecting the correct option. In order to do this, you need to select the line graph option. So let's go to the calculator. Here it is. Second y equals, you want to go into plot number 1, turn it on. So make sure it's turned on. So here, right here, is the line graph option. This is the histogram option. Here are the 2 box and whisker plot options. I don't use this box and whisker plot option. It does not check for outliers. The one with dots does check for outliers. I always use that one. So this is the line graph option right there. Then you need to make sure that the X list is set to list 1 and the Y list is set to list 2. Those are the default options in your calculator. Then I've given you the window that you need to set. Here is the window that you need to make sure you have set. So I've done that. Go to my calculator, press the window button. This is the window that you need to have set. Then if you press the graph button, you should finally be able to see the ogive. There it is. That's what we've been trying to build. Starting then with question number 12, we'll look at how to interpret the ogive.